Masechta Bava Daf Kuf Lamed Amud Aleph was starting from the Mishnah. Zok the Mishnah Aimei Ish Pleni Hasheni. If a person says that Pleni, who's not a Yiddish inherit, maybe Makasheish Lebas, in a place where he has a daughter, Zok the Yimad, or Zok the Mishnah Vaita, or he says Biti Tirasheni, my daughter should inherit, maybe Makasheish Leban, in a place where I have a son, Lo Yamaklum, he has said nothing, she's not Mashkas Bateda. Because he was master on what's written in the Torah, he's being oiker the Yerusha from its place, meaning that he's giving it to somebody who's not even a Yiddish, or even where there's a band, the beat is not a Yiddish at that time, and therefore it's batal. Rabbi Yechon Breka says, Im Amal Misha if the father said, I'm one of the children who are fit to be Yiddish, then even though he chose one out of the others, his words are kayamin. But if he said, I'm one who's not right to be a Yiddish, that one should be Yiddish and he's not right to be a Yiddish, then his words are not kayam. And the Gemara will explain. Let's explain now the words of the Tanakama. Tanakama said the whole reason is time of the Achbe Mekayim Bas. The whole reason that the one that's the Meidish is considered as a Mas Namasha Kosbatera because he commanded that the Nechasim should be bequeathed to somebody who was not even a Yiddish in a place where there was a Yiddish, in a place where there was a Bas who was fit to be Yiddish, Bas Mekayim Bas, or he commanded to bequeath his nechasim to his daughter in a place where there's a ben, and in such a case, minatayra, the one that's receiving it is not a Yiddish, and therefore it's batal. How about bein habana? What's if it would have been a son between other sons that he's bequeathing to one son over the other sons? Ubas bein habanas, or a daughter between other daughters, where there's no other sons, just daughters. Then his words are fulfilled. In fact, the Gemara in the Sefer, look at it. It says in the Sefer, Rabbi Yechon ben Breka said, if one who said that he's bequeathing on to one of them versus the others on those that are fit to be Yiddish, so it's mashma from his words that the Haino Tanakama, it's exactly like the Tanakama. Because what does it mean? Amir Sharoyli Yarsha. He said to one over the other ones that are fit to be Yarshin. Obviously, a ben habanim, or a bas ben habanis. So, what's that's from the dik of the Tanakama? We say it comes out that the Tanakama is not saying anything different than Rabbi Yechon ben Breka. So, where do we find the Mishnah? Sounds like Rabbi Yechon ben Breka. It sounds like he's arguing with the Tanakama. Where is that machlekes? And if you want to say Rabbi Yechon ben Breka, and if you want to say that the Rabbi Yechon ben Breka holds even if it's a acher, someone who's not a Yiddish, that the father bequeathed to instead of a bas who is the Yiddish, ubas became bein kama, or he bequeathed to a daughter in a place where there's a son and the son is the Yiddish and the daughter is not. And that's the Tanakama holds that it will be. You're saying that the Rabbi Yechon ben Breka will hold that it's a good, that it's kayam, that whatever the father says it's fulfilled. In fact, you can't say that that's what he holds and that's what he's arguing with the Tanakama. But Tanya, we learned in the Brayso. Rabbi Yishmael ben Neish, Rabbi Yechon ben Breka, Rabbi Yishmael, the son of Rabbi Yechon ben Breka, said, "Lo yitnach ko abo," that Rabbi Yechon ben Breka was not arguing, meaning V'chacham, Rabbi Yechon ben Breka and the V'chacham were not arguing al achbe b'kein bas on a case where it's a acher. If the father said he wants to bequeath it to somebody who's not a Yiddish in the place of a bas who is a Yiddish, or bas b'kein ben, or a daughter in the place of a bein who the bein is the Yiddish, shlo yamaklum, they both hold. Meaning not just the Chacham hold it's lo yamaklum, but even Rabbi Yechon ben Breka would agree to that. So Haman Nechleku, what were they arguing about? Al bein habanim ulabas bein habanis. on a case where he says he wants to bequeath one son over the others, or a daughter over the other daughters, that my father said, meaning Rabbi Yechon Bereika held that he could bequeath to one son over the other sons, and the Chachamim say he will not inherit. So in this Baraisa, it says explicitly that Rabbi Yechon Bereika does agree that a person cannot bequeath his nechasim to somebody who's not fit to be a Yiddish. So if so, the kasha comes back. What was the Tanakama of our Mishnah arguing with Rabbi Yechon Bereika? If even Rabbi Yechon Bereika agrees that a ach b'mkein bas cannot, a father cannot bequeath to a ach b'mkein bas or a bas b'mkein ben. And the Gemara gives two terutzim. Iba is saying that if you want, I can tell you one teretz to come up from this that Rabbi Yishmael said loy nechleku. That Rabbi Yishmael said that Abba, meaning Rabbi Yechon Bereika and the Chachamim, or not arguing in a case of Ach b'mkein bas or Bas b'mkein ben, Miklal, we could imply the Tanakama, the one that the first Tana of Rabbi Yishmael, who argues with Rabbi Yishmael, Sava obviously held that Rabbi Yechon Bereika and the Chachamim Nechleku are arguing in a place of Acher b'mkein bas or Bas b'mkein ben. So that's the machlekes. So the Tanakam obviously holds that they are arguing that Rabbi Yechon Bereika will hold that Acher b'mkein bas will help Dvarav Kayamim or Bas b'mkein ben, and the Tanakam will hold that it doesn't. That's the machlekes. Ibai saying, if you want, I could tell you another answer. Really, Kulei, the whole Mishnah, Kulei, the Rabbi Yechon Bereika, it all is Rabbi Yechon Bereika. V'chasurim asra, v'achikdani, and there's missing words in the Mishnah. This is how you have to learn the Mishnah. And it's not like this. If a man says that person who's not a Yiddish should inherit me in the place where there's a daughter, or my daughter should inherit me in the place where there is a son, his words are worthless, are void. But what's if in a case where he says he wants to bequeath to one of the daughters between the other daughters, or one of the sons between the other sons, if he said that all his nechasim should be bequeathed to one of the sons, or between the sons, or one of the daughters between all the daughters, his words are fulfilled. Why? Because this is how you have to finish off. That's the first words of the Mishnah, and you end off. Why? Because Rabbi Yechon Bereika says, if he said I'm one who is fit to be Yiddish, that he chooses one between the other ones that are fit to be Yiddish, Dvar Kayam, his words are fulfilled. Whether it's a bas between banes or bain between banim, Rabbi Yechon said that if he chooses one between those that are all fit to be Yiddish, his words are fulfilled. Meaning he chose the one to bequeath to was the right to be a Yiddish, and he chose that he should be the Yiddish over all the other ones. It's gonna like a bain between other banim or a bas between other banis. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel, Allah Rabbi Yechon Bereika. The halach is like Rabbi Yechon Bereika, that if he chooses to bequeath all the nechasim to one son over all the other sons, he could, or one daughter over the other daughters, he could, in a place where there's no sons. My time to Rabbi Yechon Bereika. What's the reason of Rabbi Yechon Bereika that says that the father could bequeath to one of his sons in a place where there are many other sons, and that he could bequeath all his nechasim to one of them? And the Gemara answers, it says in the pasuk, it will be in the day that the father will bequeath to his son. The Torah could have written shorter, in the day that his son will inherit his father. So the Gemara answers, so from this that the pasuk chose to say the other way, that there will be in the day that the father will bequeath to the son, not that the son will inherit the father. You're choosing the lashon that the father will bequeath the son. From that we learn out that Torah gave Yeshus to the father, that the father could bequeath to whomever he wants. Amalei Abai, so Abai said back to Rava, Hamalo Yuchel Levaka Nafka. We can learn it out from the pasuk of Lo Yuchel Levaka, meaning that the father cannot transfer the Chelik HaBechera from the Bechera to the other brothers. So from this pasuk that it says Dafke Lo Yuchel Levaka, so we can learn out Dafke the Chelik HaBechera. He cannot transfer to the brothers the double portion. He cannot transfer to another son. But if it's the other nechasim between those that are not bechayim, the father could choose one out of the other sons to give the whole nechasim. So what do I? What do I need? What does he do with lo yuchel levakeh? He's learning out the same limit from Rabbi is learning it out from the same thing that you can learn out from lo yuchel levakeh. So what does he need it for? What does he learn out the pasuk lo yuchel levakeh? What does the Rabbi learn out from that pasuk? He needs the pasuk lo yuchel levakeh for a different dasha. What does the pasuk of lo yuchel levakeh come to teach us? Since it says in the day that the father will bequeath to his sons, meaning that the father could bequeath the chelik of the bnei apashit, that's not a bechei, to another son who's not a bechei, or to another son who's a pashit, he could bequeath his nechasim to another one. Sheyachel, I would have taken it. Well, it's a kalachema. Uma pashit sheyuper keichei madach a pashit, where he has more kayach than a b'chei. He gets a chelik even in the chasim that come to the father after the death, not just in the chasim that the father had at the time that he died. Does the pash get his chelik? He gets even in those chasim that come after the death. Nevertheless, the Torah gave the power to the father to transfer all nechasim to one b'chei pasha, to one brother, all the chalakim which are pasha, where his koich is weak, that he's unable to get the double portion in Royid, the chelik that's extra for the b'chei, he does not get in those nechasim that come after the death of the father. Only those nechasim that the father had at the time of the death. So the b'chei's part is weaker, like kol shekain. Shouldn't I say that the father could bequeath his chelik to the other brothers? That's why we needed a pasuk to tell us that the b'chei's part cannot be transferred to the other brothers. In fact, you might let us just say lo yuchel levakeh, and we would know which part cannot be transferred to the other brother. It's only the double portion of the bechir, but the other nechasim we can be medayik from the pasuk of lo yuchel levakeh that the father could be bequeathed to the other brothers. What does he do with the pasuk of b'yom achilai? And the Gemara sheyachol, because I would have timed it. It's a kavachayim. Ma b'chei shura keichei matach b'chei. Whose koyach is weak, he doesn't get in the double portion. He cannot collect from those nechasim that came after the death of the father. He can only collect in the time from those nechasim in the time when the father died. Nevertheless, the Torah says you cannot transfer the double portion of the bechir to the other brothers. A pashit who's even stronger, his keich is stronger, that he gets his chelik even in those nechasim that fell to the father after the death. Like kol shekain, shouldn't we say for sure that the father cannot transfer the chelik hapashit to the ben achem? Madach by the b'chei who is weak, the double portion which is weak, we say that double portion cannot be transferred to any of the brothers. The pashta chelik, which is much stronger, because the pashta chelik could be collected even in those nechasim that came after the death, for sure should not be able to be transferred. That's what the pasuk of b'yom achilas banav. That means that the father b'yom achilas coming to teach us that the Torah gave it just to the father to bequeath to whomever he wants. The halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan Bereika, that the father could bequeath this is what we said before, that the father could be bequeathed to one brother in the Pashto Chelik over the other brothers. Amalei Rabbi Yami, Hoyre Itma. He didn't learn the Lashon Halacha, he learned the Lashon Hoyre. What are they arguing about? Ma'asav Halacha Adifa. One holds that Halacha is better. Why is Halacha better? Because when a Chacham paskins lemaisa, so ledukba, if a person sees that a Chacham fulfilled the father's request, and he was Mizaka, one of the brothers over the other brothers, and he doesn't know that Chacham, he doesn't know the Chacham didn't do like Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika. He could have been, because that was B'Lashon Matana. That's how he gave it. It was in his father. His father used the Lashon Matana. That's why he gave it over to him. There's no right that the halacha was like Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika. There was B'Lashon Matana. So you can't really prove from that Maisa that he gave to one of the sons more than the others that the halacha is like Rabbi Yechon ben Bereika, that the father could bequeath to one of the sons over the other brothers, because we could say there the story was he gave it B'Lashon Matana. That's why from Haida is not good enough to learn the halacha. So that's why he says, Dafke, if it's halacha is more precise, then we know the halacha is that way. And one Tana holds no, Maisarav is better, because when somebody gives halacha, he's not as careful as when it comes to Maisa to Paskin Hadin. Then he starts looking into it much more careful when the shaila is asked by him, and there's also more siyata d'shmaya. So that's why the other Tana held Maisa Rav is stronger than halacha. We cannot learn halacha from limud, meaning that if a Rav b'derech limud, he says, oh, the svara of that chacham is more svaradik than the svara of the one that's arguing. Don't paskin halacha that way, because he's maybe the chacham is not being medaktik in all the pratim, and he's just telling him that Tanaim when they would learn things, they would say it as they were learning it, but they weren't medayik as if they would come down la halacha. And you cannot pass him al pi maisa, like we said, from a story that you had seen, because you never know what the details of the story was surrounding that. Why did not pass him that way? Till he tells him, meaning he asked him a shaila himself, a shaila that's negela maisa, and they're not paskin a lemaisa like for his shaila. So since he knows the person who asked that these, and he knows all the details, that's when the halacha is lemaisa like that. Only when Ramalai halach lemaisa, only if he answered on the shaila halach lemaisa, yelach v'yasa maisa. Only according to such a he should follow what the Rav says. Providing that he's not going to start comparing. Oh, he passed it that way because I know he asked that shaila from a different case that I asked him, and now I'm going to be medamet. He says he can't be medamet. In fact, what does it mean that he shouldn't compare? The whole Torah uses the comparisons, learns everything from comparisons. Like the Bari Nedovin says on Shlomo HaMelech, that he was masber the Torah to comparisons. This is the kavanah of the Braisa. It means dafke by treifes. The time that we learned in the Braisa, you cannot compare a svara from one case that was treif for another case. You shouldn't wonder that when you cut the foot of the behemoth in a lower place away from the body, the behemoth is considered as mesa. No, and the behemoth would die. But if you cut the foot in a higher place, even close to the body, sometimes you see that it still lives. So you can't compare one part to the other from, here the foot, here's a foot. It depends where. You can't make just a general comparison. When Rav said to us in the time that we were learning in front of him, so is the halacha navid maisa. Are we able to be neig lemaisa according to that hira? When we were learning with Rabbi Yochanan, are we allowed? And he said, halacha, the halacha is like this. Are we allowed to pass lemaisa like that? Amalei savido. Rabbi Yochanan answered him. And Rabbi Yochanan answered, Rabbi Asi, loy savido. Don't be neig lemaisa. Ad amina halach lemaisa. Till I say befedish, the halacha in the time that you ask me on a maisa that came to your hands, an actual story, and you come with this shaila that's negel lemaisa, only then should you listen to, and follow that way. Because that's the derech limud when he said halacha hachi, but the derech limud you can't pass him. The derech limud only till there's an actual story and he passes it this way. Only that you follow it that way. Rav and Rav Papa and Rav Huna B'rei Rav Yeshua said to Rabbi Yochanan Ki Yasi Piska the Dina Didi L'Kamaychu. When it comes before you a psak din that I have given up psak v'chasisu beipecha, and you see upshlag in this psak loitikra ad asisu l'kamayi. Do not be mevatel. Do not rip up this psak. Hold on to the paper. If I'll have a reason behind it, I'll explain you why a paskin. And if I cannot give you a reason to it, hadranabi, I will retract from it. So b'derech klal adayin that paskins adin, he cannot retract. We said. But here it's talking about b'psak din that was a tos gomer, like he was paskin against something that's written in the Mishnah. In such a case, the din is bottle. That's what he means, adanabi. La'achamisa. And if you see there's a pircha in the psak din, if my dad says Rabbi Yochanan, Rava. I'm sorry, Rava. So Rava says, "La'chamisa lo mikatukou." Do not rip up and be mevat my words. But also don't learn from it. Lo mikatukeini. Do not rip it up. Because maybe if I was there, I would have been able to explain the reason why you're passing that way and answer your question. So maybe even after you look into it, you will find a tiritz to your question. So don't rip it up. Look into it more. Here he brings down from the Piskei Harid that the Psak Din Shutos Gemura, which is Batul Adin, the Chai Talmud Bekveid Rabbi Shalei List Ezvarav, and the Talmud is Mechiv in the Kveid of his Rebbe, not to contradict his words. Anyway, Mikman Nami Leitigmirunei. Also, do not learn out for other cases. Ella, you should paskin the way you see, you feel, and you see it. Don't base it on but he paskin that way, and even though you see the case is different, don't avert from what you're seeing. Okay. Zog the Yomad the Ein Ladayin Ella Masha is a dayan cannot paskin only according to what his eyes see. And he brings down that Ladugma, if it was brought before a Chacham dry blood to check, and he sees the Mara is tired, you don't have to be concerned. Maybe the Mara was tummy at the time when she had it till she brought it to Bezdin and it dried up. Only you paskin according to the Mara of the on the Mara at the time when you're checking. At the time when you're checking, it's dry. That's it, and it's tired. It's tired. And it's not only said b'negei to Riyas, it's b'negei to all dinim that is totally besvaris. A dayan shouldn't be seimech on the reasoning of a chacham that doesn't seem fit in his eyes. He has to paskin based on his father that he sees now. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin has a pasuk from where we dash in that. It says, "V'imachem b'dvar mishpat," meaning Asu mishpat lefi mashe imachem. Do the mishpat paskin the din according to what your heart, like your heart is noita to, it draws you to, according to those tightness and rayas that you have. That's how you should paskin.